Hey guys, tonight we're taking you on a ride across the endless sky where the golden sun itself becomes your travel buddy. You're perched right next to Helios, the ever-watchful titan of light, as his chariot blazes from horizon to horizon. You might think you've seen sunrises before, but trust me, riding shotgun with Helios, it's like getting VIP seats to the dawn of the world every single day. But here's your first reality check. You probably won't survive this trip if you're hoping for seatbelts or air conditioning. There's no protection from the blistering heat, just the fierce wind whipping through your hair and the endless blue arch above. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know down in the comments where are you watching from and what's the local time. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You lean back against the warm-worn seat of the chariot, feeling the sun's heat radiate through your skin. Helios's golden hair shimmers in the light he himself commands. His eyes, flecked with copper and bright as molten gold, scan the world below with an endless patience. You might think he's just pulling the sun across the sky like a lazy horse-drawn carriage, but don't let that calm facade fool you. This is a job that never ends, like working customer service on Black Friday, except your customers are the entire world and they never stop demanding more light. The chariot itself is a masterpiece of mythic engineering. 4 blazing horses snorting clouds of flame, their hooves striking sparks from the very air. The wheels hum with celestial power, leaving a faint trail of shimmering heat as they turn. No mortal craftsman could ever build this. It's pure cosmic grandeur, the kind of luxury ride that makes a Rolls-Royce look like a soapbox derby car. You lean over the edge, peering down at the world passing beneath. From up here, the earth looks like a patchwork quilt of greens and browns, rivers snaking through valleys, oceans glittering like spilt coins. And here's your historical tidbit for tonight. Ancient Greeks believed the sun itself was literally Helios's fiery chariot, not just a ball of gas hanging out in space. It was as real and solid to them as the chariots they raced in the dusty arenas of Olympia. But even Helios, proud and brilliant as he is, sometimes feels the weight of the endless sky pressing down on his shoulders. You see it in the slight furrow of his brow, in the way his hand tightens on the golden reins. The sun never sets for him. It just dips behind the mountains to rest a moment before he wheels it back into the sky again. He's not just a driver though. He's a witness, an eternal observer of the secret lives of gods and mortals alike. Historians still argue whether this was truly Helios's only job, or whether he had a hand in shaping the very fates of those he watched. After all, when you see everything, it's hard to stay completely neutral. Today, as you glide with him across the sky, Helios's gaze drifts down to a silver glow. Selene's moon shimmering in the twilight. You feel a shiver down your spine. The night is when things get interesting after all. Lovers sneak out under cover of darkness. Passions that would be scandalous in the light of day burn bright and hot. And no one sees it all better than Helios. He guides the horses along their shimmering path, but you can tell he's not just focused on the road ahead. His eyes wander, curious, amused, and maybe even a little bit judgmental. Like your nosiest neighbour peeking out the window whenever there's a late-night delivery or a suspicious rustle in the bushes. You catch a glimmer of that same curiosity in yourself. After all, who wouldn't want to know what the gods are up to when the world below is wrapped in shadow? You're not the only one. Some say that even the stars themselves are just the watchful eyes of old titans still peering down on the petty dramas of the earth. As the horses crest a high peak, the first hints of dawn spill across the sky. It's a sight that never gets old, rosy fingers of light stretching across the dark like the last whispers of a dream fading into morning. The air is thin and crisp here, the wind scented with the faint tang of ozone and sun-warmed clouds. You lean forward, feeling the speed of the chariot as it races the turning world. There's a thrill in it, like riding a roller coaster that never stops. And here's your quirky tidbit. Some ancient poets claimed Helios's horses didn't just race, they actually sang as they galloped, each hoofbeat a note in an endless song of light. Helios, for all his seriousness, seemed to hum along with them, lips curved in a faint smile as he listens to the music of his own creation. He might be the sun incarnate, but even he finds a moment of joy in the harmony of it all. Below, the world wakes up. You see fishermen pulling nets in the early dawn, priests lighting temple fires, children tumbling out of doorways, still half asleep. It's a snapshot of life repeated 1,000 times over, and Helios, your golden guide, sees it all, the grand gestures of heroes and the quiet, unnoticed kindnesses of mortals. Yet even as he watches, he can't help but be drawn to those who dare to love in the shadows, the mortal hearts that beat in defiance of the god's wrath, the divine hearts that long for something more than worship or power. Lovers Helios knows will always find a way, no matter how high the cost. You settle back in the chariot, feeling the weight of the sun's heat and the pull of the stories below. There's a reason the poets sang of these moments, not because they were polite dinner conversation, but because they were raw and real. And tonight you'll see them all through Helios's eyes, bright with the fire of dawn. So hold on tight. The horses snort and rear, the chariot wheels spin, and Helios lifts his head to the endless sky. This journey is only beginning, and every beat of those fiery hooves is a promise of secrets to come. The chariot hums beneath you like a living thing, every motion a subtle dance between the cosmic horses and the whip of Helios's will. The air rushes past in a glittering tide, warm and charged with the scent of molten gold. And now your golden driver's gaze shifts from the rising sun to the soft gleam of silver that lingers in the sky. The moon, you realize, is still there, pale and watchful in the morning light, a secret witness to what passes in the dark. Helios narrows his eyes, and you follow his gaze to the lonely figure of Selene, goddess of the moon, gliding across the horizon. Her skin is pale as moonlight, her robes drifting like mist behind her. She rides a chariot too, though hers is of silver, and pulled by gentle white horses that seem to leave stardust in their wake. The clash of dawn and night, sun and moon, in a brief breathless moment, feels almost like a lover's embrace. Selene is beautiful, yes, but her heart belongs to a mortal. You lean forward, catching the flicker of a shadow on the sleeping earth far below. Endymion, they call him a shepherd, with a face carved from marble so perfect that even the moon couldn't help but fall in love. Each night she descends from the sky to find him sleeping forever in a gentle, enchanted slumber. Historians still argue whether this story was meant to be tragic or tender. Was Endymion blessed with eternal rest, forever youthful and untouched by mortal pain? Or was it a punishment, a never-ending dream that he could never wake from, no matter how much he might wish to hold his silver goddess in the light of day? You watch as Selene hovers above him, her fingers brushing his sleeping face. Her touch is so light it barely stirs the air, and yet you swear you feel it, a ripple of cold moonlight across your skin. Endymion's lips are soft and still, his body curled like a child's in sleep. He'll never see the dawn, never feel the sun's warmth again. But each night the moon returns to him faithful and silent. Helios watches it all, his golden brow creased in thought. You can almost hear his silent commentary. Love is beautiful, sure, but how much of it is really choice, and how much is just fate's cruel joke? It's a question as old as the sky, and yet it feels brand new, crackling in the early morning air. Your historical fact for this stretch of sky in the temples of ancient Greece priests and poets would often call on Selene to witness their vows, her presence a silent promise that even the darkest secrets would be seen. Love and secrets, two sides of the same shimmering coin, always flickering in the glow of her silver chariot. Below the world stirs. The first rays of dawn catch on the marble columns of temples on the polished bronze of warriors' shields. But above it all, the moon and sun glide on two halves of the same endless dance. You can see why the Greeks believed so deeply in their power. When you live in a world lit by living gods, even your quietest moments become part of their story. And here's your quirky tidbit to chew on as the horses gallop onward. Some old folk tales claim that Selene's silver chariot was actually pulled by magical donkeys instead of horses, an odd stubborn little detail that still pops up in dusty footnotes. Imagine that mighty Helios with his flaming stallions and gentle Selene gliding along behind a pair of mystical donkey chauffeurs. But back to the lovers. Helios, despite his constant motion, can't help but linger on Selene's nightly visit. She bends to kiss Endymion's lips, her breath a whisper of winter across his cheek. No words, no declarations, just that single touch repeated 1,000 times over. You wonder, does Endymion dream of her? Or is his sleep too deep? His mind too far lost in the shadows of night? Helios doesn't know, and neither do you. But there's something in the way Selene's pale fingers linger on his chest, something in the quiet ache of her silver eyes that makes you think maybe love doesn't always need answers. The chariot wheels turn, the sun climbs higher, and the world below shakes off its dreams. But in that secret hour in the hush before the full light of day, Selene's love shines like a promise, fierce, unwavering, and as quiet as moonlight on water. Helios, ever the watcher, guides his horses onward, but he spares a final glance for the sleeping shepherd and his goddess. Maybe he understands it better than most how love can make even the endless sky feel small, how it can turn the cold, bright chariot of the sun into something soft and warm. And as the silver chariot fades into the pale light of dawn, you feel that lingering sense of wonder clinging to your skin. Love, after all, is the one thing that even the sun itself can't burn away. The horses snort and toss their heads, eager for the next story, the next secret waiting to be uncovered in the patchwork world below. Helios leans forward, eyes bright with the promise of another glimpse, another mortal heart caught in the glow of the gods. And you lucky rider are right there with him, sailing above the clouds, watching the moon slip away, and knowing that this is only the beginning of the endless tales of love and loss that play out beneath the watchful eye of the sun. The chariot crests another shimmering ridge of clouds, and you feel the heat of the horses beneath you, a furnace in motion, each hoofbeat a spark against the endless sky. Helios's eyes shift from the sleeping lovers of the night to a new story brewing in the warm glow of morning. You can sense it before you see it, like the faint scent of a secret whispered in the dark. Below, two figures move with the hush of stolen moments, a goddess of love and a god of war entangled in a dangerous dance. Ares and Aphrodite. You've probably heard their names dropped in every art museum tour or dusty textbook, but from up here they're not statues of marble or stiff academic diagrams. They're real, breathless and burning, drawn together like sparks and tinder. You lean in closer because even Helios, jaded by centuries of sunrise and scandal, can't look away. They're meeting in the quiet corners of Olympus, far from the watchful gaze of Aphrodite's husband Hephaestus. The goddess's hair spills like molten copper over her bare shoulders, her laughter ringing out like chimes in the wind. Ares, clad in iron and shadow, has that restless energy of a predator pacing a cage, and yet when they're together there's nothing but a raw golden heat between them. Historians still argue whether their affair was a simple fling or something deeper, a rebellion against the roles the gods were forced to play. Was it just lust, or was it love that drew the goddess of beauty and the god of war into each other's arms? From up here, the line between those two things blurs and shimmers like the air above hot sand. Aphrodite's laughter spills out again as Ares pulls her close, his dark eyes glittering with something dangerously soft. You see the way he cups her cheek, the way her lips curve in a secret smile meant for him alone. Helios watches it all with a knowing tilt of his head. He's seen it before, of course. Passion like this, quick and reckless, always leaves a mark. Your historical fact for this golden hour in the ancient city of Corinth: they dedicated entire festivals to Aphrodite, where priests and priestesses offered themselves in sacred rites of love, echoes of the goddess's own unquenchable desire. Love wasn't just a private affair, it was woven into the very fabric of life, a thread of devotion and delight that even mortals could reach for. Below the quiet temples and olive groves stand still, but here above it all Ares and Aphrodite move in a world apart. Their kisses are as fierce as battle cries, their laughter a promise of something that won't be tamed. You wonder just for a moment if they're as immortal in their love as they are in their flesh. Helios doesn't judge, he just watches. His horses snort the chariot wheels turning in the hush of morning light. But you see it in the faint quirk of his lips. Even the sun can't help but be impressed by the audacity of hearts that refuse to bow to anyone's rules. Your quirky tidbit for the ride, ancient vases, often depicted Ares and Aphrodite's stolen embraces, but some even showed them caught in a net, literally trapped by Hephaestus's cunning invention. A cautionary tale of what happens when passion outpaces caution, sketched in black figure pottery for all the world to see. And there's a shimmer of that fate in the air now. You can almost taste it, like honey laced with wine, sweet and heady. The secret meetings won't stay secret forever. There's always someone watching, always a whisper waiting to slip past a careless lip. And Helios, ever the observer, will be the one to carry the tale across the sky. Aphrodite leans in, her voice soft as the summer breeze, and Ares tilts his head to catch every word. You can't hear what she says, not really, just the low murmur of devotion and desire. But it's enough to make the air around them shimmer like the haze of noon heat. Helios pulls the reins, guiding the horses into a wide arc that brings you even closer. From this angle you see how even the gods can't outrun their hearts. Ares' fingers linger on Aphrodite's waist, as though he's afraid she might vanish in the dawn. She laughs again, the sound a promise that she's here now and nowhere else matters. Below the world stirs to life, merchants opening shutters, farmers calling to their oxen. But above, in the private glow of a stolen sunrise, Ares and Aphrodite write their own story. And you're here for it, a silent witness with the best seat in the cosmos. The chariot wheels turn and Helios leans back with a satisfied hum. You can tell he's seen it all 1,000 times before, lovers meeting in secret hearts, choosing what logic says they shouldn't. Yet somehow it never gets old. There's always something new in the way desire wraps around two souls, binding them tighter than any vow. As the morning brightens, Helios's horses pick up their pace, and you feel the rush of air against your skin. The world blurs for a heartbeat, and then the lovers below slip back into shadow, their secrets safe for another day. But you can still feel the echo of their laughter in the air, a warmth that lingers like the memory of a touch. You lean back, the chariot's motion steady and smooth beneath you. The sky is a canvas of soft gold and gentle blues, and Helios's eyes gleam with the promise of more stories to come. Because this is just one tale among countless others, a moment caught in the endless dance of sun and sky. And tonight you'll be there for all of them. No matter how bright the sun burns, no matter how high the horses fly, Helios will keep watch, and you lucky dreamer will see it all through his knowing golden eyes. The chariot sails onward wheels, whispering against the sky's edge like the hush of turning pages. You settle deeper into your seat, the golden reins warm beneath your fingers. Helios's gaze flickers once more to the earth below, to the stories written, not just in stone or ink, but in the fire of hearts that dare to love beyond reason. Below, another familiar figure takes shape, Apollo, the sun's own brother, the god of light, music and prophecy. Apollo is a dazzling figure even from this lofty perch. His hair is the bright gold of dawn, his lyre slung casually across his back like a troubadour's promise. But for all his beauty, Apollo's heart is as restless as the sun's horses, forever chasing, forever yearning. You lean closer, curious. Helios knows this story well. Apollo's many loves, mortal and divine, each as fleeting as a sunbeam on water. You see him now in the company of mortal maidens, his smile, a warm benediction that promises poetry and passion. And yet for all his shining glory, heartbreak clings to him like a shadow at dusk. Historians still argue whether Apollo's endless quests for love were born of true longing or divine vanity. Was he seeking something real, or just the reflection of his own brilliance in mortal eyes? It's the kind of question that echoes in your mind like the haunting notes of his lyre. And speaking of music, here's your historical fact. The ancient Greeks believed Apollo's lyre could charm not just hearts, but the very stones and trees around him. Imagine a melody so pure it could coax marble to weep, or make the olive trees sway in time to its song. That's the power of a god's music, more than just notes, it's the soul of the world made sound. But even that divine harmony couldn't save him from the ache of unrequited love. You watch now as Daphne, the nymph he adored, flees from him, her feet barely touching the earth. Her breath a prayer to the river god to save her. Her hair streams behind her like a banner, her heart thundering with the knowledge that not even the sun can warm her if her soul is not her own. Helios's eyes soften as he watches the moment that will become legend. You see Daphne's fingers stretch her body, caught in that desperate final flight. And then, like a whisper of green in the hush of dawn, she begins to change. Bark creeps up her limbs, leaves unfurl from her hair, and in the blink of an eye she is no longer girl but laurel-rooted and silent. A hush falls over the world, even up here in the chariot's blaze. Apollo's hands outstretched close on nothing but air. The laurel tree stands where Daphne once ran, her spirit caught in the gentle sway of branches. He cups the leaves in his hands, presses his lips to them as though he might still taste her laughter. And though the tree will never return his touch, he will wear her leaves forever, a crown of memory for a love that could not be. Helios shifts in his seat, the horses snorting at the tension in the air. He knows how these stories end, how the gods for all their power cannot force love to bloom where it does not wish to grow. Your quirky tidbit for tonight: even in ancient art, Apollo is almost always shown crowned with laurel, a constant reminder of that fleeting leafy kiss. Below, the world spins on. Farmers sow seeds that will become bread, children chase each other through dusty streets, and the olive trees, Apollo's own gift, whisper in the wind. But above it all, Helios watches his brother's heartbreak with a quiet, knowing sigh. Love, he thinks, is a song that even the sun can't always play in tune. You lean forward, the rush of wind carrying the scent of warm earth and distant rain. The chariot glides on each turn of the wheels, a heartbeat closer to the next tale, the next stolen moment. And though Apollo's music still drifts across the hills and valleys, you know that in the hush of dawn there are stories even a god cannot write alone. Helios turns his head, catching your eye with a faint wry smile. You see he seems to say without words, even the brightest gods have shadows that follow them. And you can't help but nod, because the truth of it rings clear in the golden air. The horses toss their heads, eager for the next glimpse of mortal folly and divine delight. Helios leans forward, his hands sure on the reins, and the chariot wheels hum with the promise of the next story, waiting in the sunlit hush. Below, the laurel tree shivers in the breeze, its leaves singing softly in the dawn. Apollo stands beside it, his eyes lost in dreams of what might have been, and you lucky dreamer ride on through the sky, witness to love's triumphs and tragedies, each as eternal as the sun's endless journey across the heavens. The sky burns brighter as the sun climbs, and the horses of Helios gallop tirelessly across the endless blue. You feel the heat of their breath, the living furnace of the sun's fire in every stride. But Helios's eyes are no longer on Apollo's lingering heartbreak. They drift downward, following a billow of clouds that part like stage curtains to reveal another story waiting in the hush of the morning. Zeus, king of the gods, ruler of Olympus and lover of mortal hearts. You've heard his name spoken with both reverence and fear, but from up here Helios sees something different. He sees a god whose passions burn as fiercely as the lightning he wields, whose touch is as fleeting and bright as a thunderstorm in midsummer. Below, a mortal woman walks through a meadow, her dark hair a banner of night against the new light of day. Io, her name, carried on the breath of the wind, once a priestess, now a prize caught in the snare of a god's desire. She walks in silence, her steps light on the dew-damp grass, and you can see the faint worry that shadows her lovely face. Historians still argue whether Io was a willing companion or a trembling captive of the sky's greatest power. Was she swept away by love or by the sheer inevitability of a god's will? Down there it might not matter, but up here, Helios watches every nuance in her gaze, every flicker of choice and fear, and Zeus comes to her not as himself, but in the form of a shimmering cloud, a golden mist that drifts low over the meadow, curling around Io's shoulders like a cloak of sunlight and whispers. It's a trick as old as the sky, the king of Olympus slipping into mortal hearts with illusions more potent than any mortal spell. The cloud shivers and parts, revealing the god's hand on Io's cheek, his voice low and sweet as honey poured over embers. You see her shiver caught between wonder and dread, and you wonder, does she know what price she'll pay for a moment in a god's arms? Your historical fact for this brightening dawn: ancient Greeks believed Zeus's disguises, whether cloud swan or golden rain, were not just illusions, but a way of making his divine power bearable to mortals. To see him as he truly was would have been to see the sky split open to be consumed by light itself. But even a cloud cannot hide forever. Helios sees it coming before Io does the cold, unyielding gaze of Hera, queen of the gods and mistress of vengeance. Hera, who has no patience for the wandering heart of her Thunderlord husband, no mercy for the mortal girls who find themselves caught in his path. Hera's fury is a storm all its own, coiling in the air like a gathering squall. She sends her spies bright-eyed peacocks whose tails glitter, with 1,000 eyes, each one watching, each one whispering back every secret. Io is trapped in a story too big for her mortal heart to bear, and you feel the weight of it even up here in the chariot's blaze. Your quirky tidbit: some legends claim that Hera's peacocks were once the 100-eyed giant Argus transformed after death to keep eternal watch over the sky. A reminder that nothing in the world of the gods ever truly fades, it just changes, form a new piece in the endless game of power and pride. Below you watch Io's steps quicken, the golden cloud still swirling around her, warm and gentle as a lover's breath. But in the distance, the glint of Hera's watchful gaze catches the dawn light, and you know no cloud can shield a mortal from the queen's wrath forever. Helios sighs, his fingers tightening on the reins. He knows how this will end. Io's freedom will slip away like a dream, at dawn replaced by the cold weight of Hera's jealousy. She will be turned into a heifer driven from her home, her beauty hidden behind horns and hooves. But even then Zeus's cloud will linger, his promise of protection, a pale comfort in a world that can be as cruel as it is bright. The horses surge forward, the chariot wheels turning in a rhythm that echoes the pounding of your own heart. You feel the pull of the earth below, the fragile thread of Io's story as it tangles with the desires of gods and the harsh truths of power. And yet there's a tenderness in the way Helios watches her, a reminder that even the sun, relentless in its journey, can pause to grieve for a mortal girl caught in a divine storm. As the cloud fades and the sky grows ever brighter, you lean back in your seat, the wind cool against your skin. Beloio's story moves on without you, but up here with Helios you carry the echo of her steps in your own breath. It's a small thing maybe, but it matters because every lover's secret, every stolen kiss or whispered promise is part of the endless tapestry that Helios weaves across the sky. The horses toss their manes eager for the next tale, and Helios's eyes flicker with that same restless curiosity. You know in your bones that there are countless stories waiting in the hush of dawn, each one a thread of love and loss, bright as the sun's own chariot blazing across the endless blue. The sun climbs higher, a warm crown of gold atop the world, and the horses of Helios surge forward with the steady power of dawn itself. The air hums with the weight of the stories unfolding below each moment like a golden coin tossed into the well of the world's memory. Helios's gaze shifts once more, his eyes sharp and knowing, and you sense the next tale waiting just beyond the curve of the earth. Below the quiet forest glades and mountain caves of Greece stir with a hushed kind of magic. Echo, the mountain nymph with a voice as sweet as birdsong, moves through the trees like a whisper of wind. She's all light and laughter, her words are constant music that wraps around every branch and stone. But you see the shadow in her eyes, the flicker of worry that flits like a startled sparrow. Echo's beauty was her gift, but her voice, oh, her voice was her greatest power. She could spin words into garlands of light, weaving tales that could soothe a raging river or charm a shepherd's heart. But tonight that silver gift has become her curse. Historians still argue whether Echo's fate was sealed by her own talkative nature, or by the jealousy of a goddess who could not stand to see beauty shine so bright. Hera, ever watchful, ever wounded by Zeus's wandering heart, turned her wrath upon Echo, with a punishment as cruel as it was poetic. She took Echo's voice and shattered it, leaving her with nothing but the power to repeat the last words spoken to her, a mocking echo of the voices she once commanded. Your historical fact for this moment in ancient Greece Echo was often invoked as a cautionary tale for those who use their words too freely. In a world where speech could build empires or tear them down, the power of a single voice was a thing both feared and revered. You lean over the edge of the chariot watching Echo wander the woods, her lips moving in half-formed songs that die in the air. The trees seem to lean closer, the hush of their leaves, a sympathy you can almost feel in your bones. And then, like a new thread in an old tapestry, another figure steps into the glade. Narcissus, beautiful as dawn, proud as a mountain peak. His hair is dark as midnight, his skin gleaming like sunlit marble. He walks with the careless grace of someone who has never been denied, never felt the bite of longing. And in the hush of the forest, Echo sees him and knows here is her heart's undoing. Helios watches with a flicker of amusement in his golden eyes. He knows how this story ends, how the pride of one heart can become the cage of another. Echo follows Narcissus through the glade, her steps as soft as moonlight on water. She wants to speak, to tell him of the ache that blooms in her chest, but all she can do is repeat his own words back to him, an endless mocking chorus. "Who's there?" he calls, his voice sharp with curiosity. There she whispers back her own voice, a hollow echo of his own. "Come to me," he says, and she answers, to me her words trembling with the weight of all she cannot say. Your quirky tidbit for this morning's light in some ancient tales, Echo's punishment was seen as a warning to never interrupt the gods, a lesson that even the smallest voice, if misused, could anger the powers of Olympus. Imagine that being cursed for talking too much, a fate that might make you think twice about your next rambling voice memo, but below there is no room for laughter. Echo's eyes are soft and pleading, her hands reaching for a boy who sees only his own reflection in every pool of water. Narcissus, lost in the mirrored glow of his own beauty, never sees the love that blooms like wildflowers in the hollow of Echo's silence. Helios's horses toss their heads, the chariot wheels humming as the story winds tighter. You feel the ache of Echo's silence like a weight on your own chest, the sharp sweetness of a love that can never be spoken. And you see it in Helios's steady gaze, that quiet, unspoken understanding that even the gods can't escape the power of a heart left unheard. The world spins on below the rivers, glinting in the sun's light, the olive trees swaying in the hush of dawn. But here, in the shadowed glade, Echo's sorrow lingers like the last note of a song that no one else can hear. You lean back in the chariot, the wind cool against your cheeks, and you wonder how many hearts have broken this way, with words caught on the tip of the tongue, forever unspoken. It's a thought that lingers in the hush between hoofbeats, a quiet reminder that love can be both the balm and the blade of the soul. Helios's eyes flicker forward, the promise of the next story shimmering in the air. The horses snort and paw at the sky, eager for the next race across the world's edge. And you, dreamer, in the chariot know that even as Echo's voice fades into the hush of the trees, the endless stories of gods and mortals still burn bright in the golden blaze of the sun. The sun wheels higher, a molten disk that sets the world alight, and the horses of Helios thunder on across the endless sky. You feel the heat of it in your bones, a warmth that seeps deeper with every turn of the golden wheels. Helios's eyes narrow in the morning glare, and below the earth becomes a stage for another tale, a story of chase and change, of wild hearts and the songs of the woods. The glade gives way to marshes and river banks, and there in the hush of green reeds the figure of Pan emerges. The goat-footed god of the wild Pan is a creature of sharp laughter and tangled hair, his reed pipe slung across his shoulder like a promise of mischief. His eyes gleam with a hunger that is older than the hills, and even from up here you can feel the pulse of it, like the hot breath of the earth itself. Pan has always been a creature of pursuit. Helios watches as he moves through the reeds, his hooves silent on the wet earth. And there just ahead Syrinx, a nymph as lovely as moonlight on water, her hair dark as the river's depths. She runs her steps light and quick, her heart pounding with a music that is all her own. Historians still argue whether Pan was truly a lover, or merely a hunter who mistook desire for destiny. Was Syrinx a willing muse to his wild melodies, or a girl who fled the cage of his embrace? You watch her. Now, her breath ragged, her eyes wide, with the sharp sweetness of fear and freedom. Pan lifts his pipes to his lips, the first notes drifting across the marsh like a promise. The music is raw and bright, a song of sunlit hills and shadowed caves of rivers that never sleep, and the restless wind in the branches. But Syrinx does not slow. She flees her steps quick as a deer's, her laughter a shimmer of sound that cuts through the dawn. Your historical fact for this breathless moment: the Greeks believed that Pan's pipes, or Syrinx, were named for this very chase. Syrinx, transformed by the river gods to save her from Pan's grasp, became the reeds that the goat-footed god would forever carry, a reminder that even the sweetest song can be born of heartbreak. You watch as Syrinx reaches the river's edge, her fingers brushing the water's cool surface. She calls out in silence, her voice lost to the roar of Pan's music, and the river listens. The reeds shiver in the breeze, and in a heartbeat they claim her, her body becoming stalks of green and gold, her laughter swallowed by the sigh of the marsh. Pan reaches the riverbank, his hands outstretched, but there is no nymph there to meet him. Only the whisper of reeds in the wind, the hollow music of loss. His eyes widen and he lowers his pipes, the melody fading into the hush of dawn. Your quirky tidbit for the morning light: some say Pan's pipes made from the reeds that were once Syrinx, always play a song of longing, a melody that can never be finished no matter how many notes he blows. It's a tune that even the wind seems to hum along to a lullaby of what might have been. Helios tilts his head, his lips curved in a faint knowing smile. He's seen it 1,000 times before, how the wild heart will always chase, how the river always listens to the prayers of those who would flee. There's no judgment in his gaze, only the quiet understanding of one who has watched the sun rise and set on every lover's flight. You lean forward, the wind in your hair, and the hush of the reeds still echoing in your ears. Below, Pan lifts his pipes once more, his fingers trembling on the hollow reeds that were once the nymph he loved. The music he plays now is softer, a lament that curls through the marshes like the river's sigh. It's a song for all those who have run, and all those who have reached out, an echo of the chase that never truly ends. The horses snort, eager for the next story, the next turn of the world. Helios flicks the reins, and the chariot wheels sing against the sky, a bright promise that there is always another dawn, another tale waiting in the hush between sun and shadow. Below, Pan's music fades into the rustle of the reeds, and Syrinx's laughter lingers in the morning air like the last note of a forgotten song. You feel the weight of it in your own chest, the sweet ache of stories that never end even when the last word has been spoken. Helios leans forward, his eyes bright with the light of the sun he carries, and you, dreamer in the chariot, ride on, your heart echoing with the music of pipes and rivers, your breath caught in the promise of the next dawn. The sun rises ever higher, the warmth of it seeping into your skin as the horses of Helios thunder onward, their hooves striking sparks from the sky itself. The chariot hums with the music of motion, the soft whisper of wind, and the faint scent of warm earth drifting up from the world below. And now Helios's gaze turns once more, catching on a new scene unfolding in the hush of dawn. You see a boy, not quite a god, not quite a mortal, a trickster with laughter in his eyes and 1,000 schemes coiled in the curve of his lips. Hermes the messenger, the thief, the restless wanderer who never stands still for long. Even from up here you can feel the pulse of his energy, the bright spark of mischief that dances in every breath he takes. Below, the fields of Arcadia stretch out like a patchwork of green and gold, and in the midst of it all a herd of cattle grazes beneath the gentle morning sun. Apollo's cattle, proud and sleek, their horns curved like the crescent moon. They are a gift of light, a symbol of the music of dawn itself, and tonight they're about to become the stage for Hermes' latest game. Historians still argue whether this was just a prank or the first sign of Hermes' cunning nature, a test of wit that would earn him a place among the Olympians. But you can see the gleam in his eyes as he pads across the meadow, his steps as soft as a cat's, his smile sharp as a new forged blade. Your historical fact for this bright moment in the ancient world: Hermes was revered not just as a messenger, but as the patron of thieves, travellers and merchants, a god who could turn a trick into a triumph, and a lie into the seed of a legend. Hermes moves with the ease of someone who has never known fear. He hums a tune under his breath, a melody that seems to tug at the very air around him. He pauses beside the cattle, his fingers brushing the soft hide of a calf as though he's merely a curious wanderer. But you know better, and so does Helios, who watches with a faint amused smile. With a flick of his wrist, Hermes gathers the cattle, guiding them away from the safety of the meadow and into the hush of the forest beyond. He moves so quickly, so smoothly, that the cattle follow as if enchanted. No panic, no cries, just the quiet shuffle of hooves on earth. It's a theft done in silence, a dance of shadows and laughter. Your quirky tidbit for this dawn: some say that in his first hours of life, Hermes stole Apollo's cattle and invented the lyre from a tortoise shell, all before he was a day old. Imagine that, barely out of the cradle and already rewriting the rules of the world. Apollo, of course, will not be pleased. You see him now, golden and bright as the noonday sun, his eyes narrowing as he realizes his precious herd has vanished. His voice is a low rumble, the promise of a storm gathering on the horizon. But Hermes, quick as a breath of wind, is already gone, slipping through the trees with the cattle in tow and a laugh on his lips. Helios watches it, all the faint quirk of his brow, the only sign of his amusement. He has seen every trick, every scheme, every spark of wit that has ever flickered across the world. But even he has to admit there's something irresistible in the way Hermes dances on the edge of chaos, turning mischief into a kind of art. Below, the forest hushes around the boy god and his stolen herd. The cattle move like ghosts through the trees, their breath warm in the cool morning air. Hermes' fingers brush their flanks, his voice a soft murmur that keeps them calm, keeps them moving. It's a magic older than the world, a promise that even the smallest hand can turn the course of a god's day. And here's the secret Helios sees: it's not just theft, not just a prank. It's a lesson, a quiet reminder that even the mighty can be fooled, that even the sunlit world has shadows that can't be chased away. Hermes doesn't just steal cattle. He steals certainty, turning the world on its head with nothing more than a laugh and a lie. You lean back in the chariot, the wind cool against your face, and you wonder, how many times has the world been remade by a single trick, a single moment of daring that changed everything? It's a thought that lingers in the hush of dawn, a promise that even the smallest story can become a legend if you're bold enough to play your part. Helios's horses toss their manes, eager for the next story, the next flicker of mortal hearts and divine secrets. The chariot wheels turn, the sun climbs higher, and you ride on through the sky, the witness to 1,000 games of wit and wonder. Below, Hermes slips away into the shadows, his laughter a promise that he'll never be caught, never be tamed. And you, dreamer in the chariot, carry the echo of that laughter in your own heart, a reminder that even in a world of gods, the clever and the quick will always find their way. The sun has climbed to its peak, a molten crown of fire above the endless blue. The horses of Helios snort and toss their manes, eager for the next race across the sky. You feel the thrum of their power beneath you, the living heat of the sun itself singing in every stride. But Helios's gaze has shifted once more, his eyes narrowing with a flicker of amusement as he looks down at the restless sea below. Poseidon, the earth shaker, the lord of the deep, and tonight, a lover with salt water in his veins. You see him now rising from the foam like a promise of thunder, his trident glinting in the sun's blaze. His hair is the dark green of kelp, his eyes the shifting blues of the sea itself. And even from up here you can feel the wild pulse of him, the raw power of the ocean, the endless hunger of the tides. But tonight it's not the storms he commands, it's the chase. You see him striding along the rocky shore, each step stirring the waves into soft murmurs. His gaze is fixed on a figure ahead, a mortal woman with hair like moonlight on water. Amphitrite, her name, a song in the hush of dawn. She moves with the grace of the sea itself, every step a dance with the tide that tugs at her feet. Historians still argue whether Amphitrite came willingly to Poseidon's side or was swept away like a ship in a storm. Was it love or conquest, devotion or desperation? Helios watches the dance below with a flicker of curiosity, his own heart steady in the hush of dawn. Your historical fact for this shimmering hour: the ancient Greeks believed that every wave, every crest of foam was a living thing, a nymph or spirit that carried the voice of the sea. To stand on the shore was to listen to the world's oldest song, the endless echo of water against stone. Poseidon reaches for Amphitrite, his hand a promise of power and protection. But she steps back, her eyes bright with a wild light. She knows what it means to be loved by a god, the weight of the sea's hunger, the pull of a heart that will never let her go. She flees her feet, skimming the water's edge, her laughter a bright note in the hush of the waves. Your quirky tidbit for the day in some old tales. Amphitrite fled so far and so fast that she hid herself in the caves of the Atlas Mountains, hoping the earth would shield her from the sea's relentless tide. But even there, Poseidon found her his love as boundless as the oceans, his promise as unyielding as the waves, below the chase winds on a dance of salt and sunlight, of laughter and longing. Poseidon's voice is a low rumble, the promise of storms in every word. Amphitrite's breath catches in her throat, her bare feet kicking up sprays of foam as she flees. But the sea is his domain, and every wave bends to his will. She cannot outrun the tide that calls her name. Helios's horses snort their hooves, striking sparks from the sky. The chariot wheels hum with the rhythm of the ocean's song, and you lean forward, the salt-scented wind cool against your skin. Below, Amphitrite pauses, her hand pressed to her chest, as she feels the pull of the sea in her blood. She knows the truth to flee is to deny a part of herself, a part that will always belong to the endless blue. And so, at last, she turns. Poseidon's arms close around her, his touch gentle as the hush of waves on a summer shore. There is no struggle now, only the soft sigh of surrender, the quiet acceptance that even the wildest hearts can find a home in the deep. Helios watches it all, his eyes calm and bright. He has seen the ocean's hunger and the softness of a tide that cradles the moon in its arms. He knows that love can be both storm and shelter, a force as fierce and as gentle as the sea itself. Below, the world spins on. Fishermen cast their nets in the shallow coves, their songs rising with the tide. Children chase each other along the water's edge, their laughter a bright echo of Amphitrite's own. And above it all you ride on in the chariot of the sun, witness to the endless dance of love and power that plays out in every wave, every sigh of the deep. The horses surge forward, eager for the next story, the next breath of dawn. Helios's hands are sure on the reins, his gaze fixed on the horizon. And you, dreamer in the chariot, feel the pull of the tide in your own heart, a reminder that even the sun cannot escape the endless music of the sea. The sun's rays stretch further across the sky, glinting off every ripple of the restless seas below, and the world seems to lean into the warmth of it. Helios's horses snort clouds of steam, their hooves striking sparks as they race on. And now his gaze flickers to the fields of green and gold, where the story of Earth's turning wheel waits to unfold a story as old as the seasons themselves. You see her there, Demeter, goddess of the harvest, her hair like ripened wheat, her eyes the deep green of ancient forests. She walks through the fields with slow, measured steps, her hands brushing the heads of grain that bow to her passing. She's both mother and queen, fierce and tender, her power in every stalk of barley, every bright shock of corn. But her eyes are shadowed today, and Helios sees the sorrow that tugs at her mouth like an unwelcome guest. Below, Persephone, her daughter, her light walks among the flowers, her laughter soft as birdsong in the dawn. She is spring incarnate, her footsteps coaxing green shoots from the earth, her smile bright as the sun-dappled hills. Historians still argue whether this tale is one of cruel fate or tender balance. Was Persephone stolen by Hades, or was her journey to the underworld an agreement older than time? Helios watches as the moment of choice unfolds, a breath, a heartbeat, and then the earth itself cracks open. Hades, dark as midnight and just as silent, rises from the shadows, his chariot pulled by night-black horses. His eyes meet Persephone's, and there is no need for words, just the hush of the earth holding its breath. She takes his offered hand, her own fingers trembling with 1,000 unspoken questions. Your historical fact for this moment in the Eleusinian mysteries: the rites of Demeter and Persephone promised initiates a glimpse of the cycle of life, death and rebirth, a secret woven into the very roots of the world, known only to those who walk the shadowed path of the underworld and return to the light. Below Demeter's cry echoes across the fields, a sound that shakes the sky itself. Her grief is a storm, her tears the first rain of autumn. The earth withers under her sorrow, fields go fallow, rivers slow to a mournful trickle. She searches the world for her lost child, her footsteps shaking the hills as she demands an answer from the indifferent sky. Your quirky tidbit for this tale: some believe that during Demeter's search she disguised herself as an old woman and nursed the son of a mortal king, an act of kindness that still echoes in the hush of harvest feasts, a reminder that even in grief the heart finds ways to nurture. Helios watches her search the golden horses quiet beneath his hand. He sees her feet stained with the dust of every road, her hands raw from knocking on doors that will not open. But still she walks her grief, a bright banner that cannot be ignored. And below in the underworld, Persephone sits beside Hades, her fingers tracing patterns in the cold stone of her new home. There is a strange peace in her eyes, a quiet acceptance that even the sun cannot burn away. She eats the seeds of the pomegranate, 6 bright drops of blood-red promise, and in that moment her fate is sealed. The seasons shift. Helios sees it in the light of the sun, the way it softens at the edges as autumn sighs into winter. Above the sky is clear and bright, but below the world slumbers wrapped in the hush of Demeter's mourning. But even here there is hope. Helios knows he's seen it 1,000 times. When spring comes, Persephone will rise her laughter, coaxing green from the brown earth, her breath warming the frost-bitten fields. Demeter's joy will ripple through every seed, every blossom, and the world will bloom again. The horses toss their heads, eager for the next tale, and Helios's gaze turns forward, the chariot wheels singing in the hush of dawn. And you, dreamer in the chariot, feel the rhythm of the earth in your own bones, a promise that no darkness lasts forever, that even the deepest winter waits for the touch of spring. Below, Demeter lifts her head, her eyes bright with the memory of green fields and the echo of Persephone's laughter. And Helios rides on the sun, a crown of light, his heart steady in the endless dance of the seasons. The sky is a blaze of gold now, each shaft of sunlight a brushstroke in the endless blue. Helios's horses race on their hooves, striking sparks from the dawn itself, and you feel the thrum of their power in your bones. But Helios's gaze, always searching, shifts once more, this time to a glade of shadow and stillness, where a single figure moves with the quiet strength of the moon, Artemis, twin sister of Apollo, goddess of the hunt and the silent woods. She is a figure of fierce grace, her bow slung across her back like a promise of swift justice. Her eyes are the cool silver of moonlight on snow, her hair the dark sheen of a forest at dusk. Even from up here you can feel the quiet power that hums in her every breath, a vow as old as the wild places she guards. She walks alone, her steps soft as a doe's on the forest floor, and yet there is no mistaking the strength in the set of her shoulders, the quiet command in the tilt of her chin. Historians still argue whether Artemis was a goddess of mercy or a protector, as ruthless as the hunt itself. But Helios, watching from above, knows the truth: she is both and neither, and something far older than any mortal word. Your historical fact for this bright dawn in the ancient world: Artemis was revered as both a huntress and a protector of the young and vulnerable. Her temples rose in quiet groves, places of stillness, where even the wolves dared not tread. She was a guardian of life's first breath and its last silent sigh. But tonight Helios sees something more: a vow made in the hush of the moon, a promise that no lover's touch would ever claim her. Artemis walks with the weight of that promise in her every step, a quiet defiance that sings in the hush of dawn. Her arrows are swift, her gaze unwavering, and in her silence is a strength that even the sun itself respects. Your quirky tidbit for the morning light: some legends claim that Artemis once turned a mortal hunter Actaeon into a stag simply because he dared to look upon her as she bathed. A lesson perhaps that the wild is not meant to be tamed, or that some mysteries are best left undisturbed. Below the forest holds its breath as Artemis passes the hush of leaves, and the soft murmur of streams bowing to her presence. She pauses at the edge of a glade, her fingers resting on the smooth wood of her bow. Her gaze lifts to the sky, and for a moment it seems as though you sees the chariot of the sun racing above and the watcher riding within it. Helios meets her gaze, and there is a quiet understanding there, a respect that needs no words. He sees the vow in her eyes, the fierce independence that no god or mortal can bend. She will not be claimed, not by love, nor by the weight of any other's will. She is the huntress, the moon's silent guardian, and her heart beats to the rhythm of her own wild song. You lean forward, the wind cool against your skin, and you feel the quiet power of her vow settle around you like a cloak. There is something comforting in it, a reminder that even in a world of passion and endless pursuit, there is a place for stillness, for the soft hush of a soul that belongs to no one but itself. Helios's horses toss their manes, their breath steaming in the chill morning air. The chariot wheels turn and you ride on through the sky, the witness to 1,000 tales of love and loss of strength and surrender. But here in the hush of Artemis's vow, you find a moment of peace, a still point in the endless dance of the sun's journey. Below, the forest stirs with the promise of life deer moving through the shadows, the soft call of an owl settling into sleep. Artemis turns away, her bow held close, and you know that she will walk this path alone, her vow, a quiet song that echoes in the hush of every dawn. And Helios rides on the sun, a crown of fire above his brow, his heart steady in the endless rhythm of the sky. And you, dreamer in the chariot, carry the echo of Artemis's vow in your own breath, a reminder that even the wildest hearts can find peace in the quiet strength of their own silence. The sun is climbing ever higher, a warm fire in the endless sky, and the horses of Helios race on with tireless grace. You feel the heat of their breath, the music of their hooves, striking the air like the steady beat of a drum. And now Helios's gaze shifts once more, his eyes bright with curiosity, as he watches a scene that sparkles with laughter and glints of mischief, a tale that begins with a cup of wine and ends with a lesson for the greedy. Below, on the deck of a ship that rocks on the gentle swells of the Aegean, stands Dionysus, god of wine, revelry and sweet chaos. His hair is dark and wild, his lips curved in a smile that promises both delight and danger. Draped in ivy and crowned with grape leaves, he is a figure of heady abandon, his every breath a song of sweet intoxication. Around him the sailors, hard-eyed men who live by the whim of the sea, watch with wary fascination. They do not know that their passenger is a god. They see only a youth with a sly smile and an aura that crackles with something they cannot name. And in that moment a plan takes shape in their minds, a plan as old as greed itself. Historians still argue whether these sailors were fools or merely unlucky, whether they knew who they had invited aboard or were blind to the divine spark in Dionysus's gaze. But Helios high above sees the truth, sees the glimmer of mischief in the god's smile, the quiet promise of a lesson about to be taught. Your historical fact for this bright dawn: Dionysus was not just the god of wine, but also of theatre and transformation, a reminder that what appears foolish to some can hold deeper truths for those willing to look. In his rites, masks and laughter were sacred tools for glimpsing the shifting shapes of the world. Below, the sailors grin and whisper, their hands tightening on the ropes of the ship. They plan to sell Dionysus as a slave, a prize that will fill their pockets with silver. But even as they move, you see the faint shimmer of power in the god's eyes, a glint of wild delight that no mortal can bind. Your quirky tidbit for this tale: in some versions of the myth, Dionysus's transformation of the ship was so complete that even the mast turned into a living vine heavy with grapes that dripped sweet wine into the sea. A floating vineyard, a banquet in the foam, a vision of abundance turned to terror for those who dared to cage a god. As the sailors set their plan in motion, Dionysus stands calm at the bow, his smile soft as a lover's sigh. And then with a gesture as easy as a breath, he begins to change. The air shivers around him, the scent of wine and wildflowers filling the dawn. Ivy coils up the mast, twisting around ropes and oars like the caress of a gentle hand. The deck creaks and groans, the wood itself singing with the power of the god's laughter. The sailors freeze their eyes wide as the ship shudders beneath them. From the sea's foam, dolphins leap graceful shapes of silver and salt, their laughter a bright echo in the hush of the morning. And Dionysus, he's no longer a quiet youth, but a figure of wild, terrible beauty, his eyes bright with the light of endless revelry. The sailors cry out, but there is no escape. The vines wrap around their limbs, the deck tilts beneath their feet, and with a final laugh that rings like a song, they're gone, transformed into dolphins themselves, creatures of the deep who will forever dance in the waves they once thought to master. Helios watches it all with a faint smile, the golden rein steady in his hands. He has seen 1,000 transformations, 1,000 lessons taught in the hush of dawn. And yet there is something sweet in this tale, a reminder that the world is never quite what it seems, that the laughter of the gods can be both gentle and fierce. Below the dolphins leap and play their sleek bodies, catching the light of the sun in flashes of silver and white. Dionysus stands alone at the prow, the wind in his hair and a smile on his lips. The ship drifts on a garden of green and gold in the heart of the sea, a testament to the god's wild power and the quiet lesson he left behind. The horses of Helios snort and toss their heads eager for the next story, the next flicker of mortal folly and divine laughter. The chariot wheels sing against the sky, and you dreamer in the chariot carry the echo of Dionysus's laughter in your own breath. A reminder that the world is alive with wonder for those who dare to see it. And so the sun rides on the sky bright and endless, and the stories of gods and mortals weave on below each one a thread in the tapestry that Helios, with quiet patience and a golden smile, carries across the heavens. The sun is a molten crown at the sky's summit, and the horses of Helios thunder onward, their hooves striking bright music from the air itself. The chariot hums beneath you, a song of fire and wind, and Helios's eyes shift once more to the world below, a tale of mortal greed and divine punishment, a golden shimmer that turns swiftly to cold regret. Below a king sits on a throne of polished cedar, his robes heavy with embroidered vines and leaves. Midas, ruler of Phrygia, whose name has become a whisper of warning in every tale of wealth. His eyes are bright with hunger, his hands restless as they trace the patterns of the palace walls. Gold is his delight, his dream, and his downfall. Helios watches the king with a quiet knowing, the weight of centuries soft in the tilt of his brow. Historians still argue whether Midas was a fool blinded by greed, or a man who simply reached too far for the sun's own glow. But from up here, you see the heart of it all, a wish that was granted and a lesson that was learned in the silence of the dawn. Your historical fact for this bright hour in the ancient world: Midas was said to have ruled over a kingdom so rich in grain and flocks that the earth itself seemed to sing beneath his touch. Yet all the golden harvests in the world could not satisfy the restless ache of a heart that wanted more. Midas's wish is a simple one, spoken in the hush of dawn, that all he touches might turn to gold, that the very breath of the earth might shimmer in his grasp. Dionysus, the god of wine and mirth, grants this wish with a soft laugh and a quiet warning, a reminder that even the smallest wish can carry the weight of the world. At first Midas's joy is boundless. His fingers brush the marble column beside his throne, and it blazes to life in a glitter of gold. The roses in the courtyard, their petals soft as a lover's sigh, turn to bright coins in his hands. Even the morning bread, still warm from the hearth, becomes a feast fit for a king hard and cold, and shining with the promise of forever. Your quirky tidbit. Some legends claim that even Midas's cat, a sleek creature of shadows and grace, was turned to a golden statue. Its soft purr silenced its playful leap, frozen in the hush of dawn. But soon the weight of the wish begins to press on the king's heart. He reaches for his daughter, her laughter still bright in the garden air, and she turns to gold in his arms, her smile forever caught in the cold gleam of metal. The bread he tries to eat crumbles like dust. The water he lifts to his lips shatters into golden shards that cut his tongue. Below the palace is silent, the golden statues gleaming in the morning light. Midas's eyes are wide, his breath ragged as he stares at the cold gleam of his own wish. Helios watches the horse's breath, a steady rhythm in the hush of dawn, and you feel the weight of it all in your own chest, a reminder that the brightest light can cast the longest shadow. Desperate Midas turns his eyes to the sky, his voice a broken whisper in the hush of the golden halls. Dionysus hears his laughter, soft and bittersweet, and he offers a path to redemption, the cool waters of the river Pactolus, where Midas must wash away his folly in the cold embrace of the earth. Helios watches as Midas staggers from his throne, the golden dust clinging to his skin like a second silent shroud. He wades into the river's current, the cold water biting at his legs, and as he bends to wash his hands, the gold flows from his fingers in bright ribbons that sink into the riverbed, forever part of the earth's quiet song. The horses of Helios snort and toss their heads, the chariot wheels turning with the hush of dawn. And you, dreamer in the chariot, feel the quiet lesson of the river's embrace in your own breath, a promise that no wish is without its weight, that the earth itself remembers every choice we make. Below the river sings with the gold of Midas's folly, and the king emerges from the water, his hands clean and empty at last. He walks back to his palace of bright marble and quiet halls, his heart heavy with the memory of what he lost, and what he learned in the hush of dawn. Helios leans forward, his eyes bright with the light of the sun he carries, and you ride on beside him, the witness to 1,000 tales of mortal hope and divine laughter, each one a thread in the tapestry that stretches across the endless sky. The sun's blaze softens just a little as the chariot of Helios glides forward, and the horses snort clouds of light into the high blue. The endless sky feels almost tender for a moment, as if the golden dawn itself wants to lean close and listen to the next story. Helios will show you a tale of love that defies even the sharpest arrows, and of trials that test the soul as much as the heart. Below you see a girl with hair like midnight and eyes that catch the light like dew. Psyche, whose name means soul, a whisper of mystery and promise. She moves with a quiet grace, her hands pressed to her chest, as if to keep her heart from flying away. Around her the world hushes as though the very air wants to hear her next breath. And there he is. Eros, the god of love, his wings, soft as swans down his eyes, bright with the laughter of the first kiss and the last. Historians still argue whether Eros was a gentle guide of hearts, or a mischievous sprite who played with mortal longings like a child with pebbles. But from up here, Helios sees the truth. He is both love's soft hand and its sharp sting. Your historical fact for this hushed dawn: in the ancient world, Eros was sometimes depicted as a child and sometimes as a young man, two faces of love that has no age, no end. His arrows were said to spark passion, or twist the heart into knots of longing, each a choice, each a chance. Below, Psyche is caught in that choice. She stands in the soft glow of twilight, her breath caught in her throat, as she feels the brush of Eros's wings in the air around her. She cannot see him, He has hidden himself away, his face veiled in darkness. Love, he says, is trust, and trust is love. But how can she trust what she cannot see? Your quirky tidbit, some old poet said that Eros's arrows were tipped with either gold or lead gold to spark the flame of desire, lead to weigh the heart down with an ache that could never be named. A pair of arrows, two destinies caught in the hush of dawn. Psyche's heart is a bright, trembling thing. She longs to see the face of her lover, to know the truth that flickers like candlelight in the hush of night. And so one evening she lights a lamp and leans close, her breath held her fingers trembling. She sees Eros sleeping, his face as beautiful as the first light of dawn. But a single drop of hot oil falls from the lamp, waking him from dreams he will never speak aloud. His eyes open wide and hurt, and in that moment the hush of night shatters. He flees wounded by her doubt, her need to see what was meant to stay in shadow. Psyche calls out, her voice a broken echo in the hush of the dark, but Eros is gone, his wings a blur of moonlight in the cold air. Helios watches with a quiet sigh, his horses steady beneath him. He knows how this will go. Psyche will wander the earth, her feet worn raw on thorny paths, her heart heavy with the weight of her own choice. She will kneel at the feet of Aphrodite, the goddess who will not forgive the girl who dared to capture her son's heart. She will face trials that bend the soul and break the spirit tasks that no mortal could ever hope to complete. But Psyche does not yield. She carries the weight of her longing and her love through the hush of dawn and the ache of dusk. She descends into the underworld itself, her heart a single bright spark in the endless dark. She gathers beauty in a jar, a gift for the goddess who would see her broken, and in the hush of that final trial she falls into sleep so deep it tastes of death. Below the earth holds its breath. Helios leans forward, his golden gaze fixed on the girl who dreams of love even in the shadow of death, and Eros, his own heart raw and bright as the sun returns at last. He bends over Psyche, his fingers brushing her lips, and with a single gentle breath he wakes her from the sleep of shadows. You dreamer in the chariot, watch it all unfold, the trials, the tears, the final soft laughter that rises like dawn itself. Because even the hardest path can be softened by love's patient hand, even the heaviest burden can be lifted by the wings of the heart. The horses snort and paw at the sky, eager for the next tale, and Helios flicks the reins with a smile that's both gentle and fierce. And you ride on the witness to the quiet strength of the soul, the endless promise that every dawn is a chance to begin again. Below Psyche rises her hand in Eros's, and the earth itself sighs in relief. And above it all the sun rides on bright and sure, carrying the memory of every mortal hope and every god's bright laughter across the endless sky. The sun hangs high, a molten disk in a sky that seems to stretch on forever, and the chariot of Helios wheels forward with steady grace. The horses move like music hooves, striking a rhythm older than memory manes, streaming like ribbons of flame in the bright air. And below Helios's gaze turns once more his eyes soft with the weight of a love story that echoes even now in the hush of every heartbreak. You see him there, Orpheus the mortal, with a voice that could tame rivers and soften the hardest stone. His lyre hangs at his side, its strings humming with the memory of every song that has ever soothed a sleepless night. His eyes are bright with the ache of loss, his steps as heavy as the hush of the dawn. Beside him there is an absence that feels like a scream. Eurydice, his love, his light stolen from him by a single breath of death's cold shadow. Historians still argue whether Orpheus's music was a gift of the gods or a rebellion against their silence, whether he sang because he believed or because he could not bear the hush of her absence. Your historical fact for this golden hour in the ancient world: Orpheus's music was said to be so powerful that it could charm even Hades himself, the silent lord of the dead, who ruled the underworld with a hand of stone and a heart of shadow. Helios watches as Orpheus stands at the mouth of the underworld, his lyre held close his heart, a quiet plea in the hush of death's kingdom. The rivers pause to listen, the very stones lean closer to the soft aching notes that spill from his trembling fingers. Even the darkness seems to breathe in time to the song, a melody of love and loss of promises that reach beyond the grave. Below you see Orpheus descend down into the shadowed halls where no mortal light can follow. His steps are sure, his voice a thread of gold in the endless night, and there in the hush of that dark kingdom he finds her. Eurydice, her eyes wide and soft, her hands reaching for the warmth of the sun she has not felt in 1,000 heartbeats. Your quirky tidbits and old tales say that Orpheus's music was so sweet that even the Furies, those fierce guardians of vengeance, paused in their endless fury, their lips trembling with the echo of his song, a reminder that even the darkest heart can be softened by a melody that speaks of love. Hades listens in silence, his brow furrowed, his hand resting on the throne carved from the bones of the earth. Persephone, her eyes soft as autumn dusk, leans forward, her heart caught in the quiet sorrow of the song. And in that hush, the impossible happens. Hades nods, and the bargain is struck. Orpheus may lead Eurydice back to the world of light, but only if he does not turn to look at her until they stand once more beneath the open sky. Love and trust, trial and temptation, a test as old as the first heartbeat. Helios watches as Orpheus walks the long road up from the shadows, every step a prayer, every breath a promise. Eurydice follows her feet, light as a whisper, her eyes never leaving the soft glow of his back. The world above waits with bated breath, the hush of dawn holding its own music, each moment stretched thin and trembling. But you see it before it happens, the moment when doubt creeps in sharp as a thorn. Orpheus hesitates, the weight of his longing pulling at his shoulders. He turns just once, just a breath, and in that heartbeat the world shatters. Eurydice's eyes meet his soft and full of the light they will never share. Her lips part but no words come, and then, like a sigh in the hush of dawn, she is gone, drawn back into the shadows, her fingers slipping from his like mist in the morning sun. Orpheus stands, frozen, his lyre silent at his side, his heart a hollow ache in the hush of the world. Helios watches his horses snorting in the quiet, and you feel the weight of that moment settle around you, like a cloak, soft and heavy, a memory that will never fade. Below the rivers murmur with the echo of Orpheus's song, and the earth sighs in the hush of lost love. But even in that final parting there is a promise, a reminder that music and memory can outlast even the silence of death. Helios leans forward, the chariot wheels turning, and you ride on through the endless sky. You carry the echo of Orpheus's song in your own breath, a quiet melody that hums in the hush between heartbeats, a promise that even the deepest sorrow can be softened by the soft light of dawn. The sun glows softer now, the midday brilliance giving way to a gentler warmth that gilds the world in amber. Helios's horses move with measured grace, their hooves striking a rhythm that seems to echo the pulse of the earth itself. And as you lean forward, breath held in the golden hush, Helios's gaze shifts once more, drawn to a story that would shape the fate of nations and set the world alight. Below you see a young shepherd prince, Paris, his name carried on the breeze like a promise and a warning. His hair curls dark against his brow, his eyes bright with the easy charm of youth. Yet in his hands he holds a choice that even the gods would hesitate to make, a golden apple bright as the sun itself and marked with a single fateful word to the fairest. Historians still argue whether Paris was a pawn in the gods' endless games, or a prince who chose love over duty, setting in motion a war that would echo down the centuries. But from up here, you see the hush of that moment, the weight of beauty and pride balanced on the edge of a single shining fruit. Your historical fact for this bright hour in the ancient world, the judgment of Paris, was told in every marketplace and palace how the choice of one mortal boy would spark the burning of Troy and the fall of heroes whose names would never be forgotten. Below 3 goddesses stand before him, their beauty dazzling even in the soft glow of dawn. Hera, queen of the heavens, her gaze sharp as a hawk's. Athena, wise and fierce, her armour catching the light like a promise of war. Aphrodite, soft as the dawn, her smile a quiet song of desire and delight. Each offers a gift, power, wisdom, love, but only one can claim the prize. Paris hesitates, his fingers brushing the smooth skin of the apple, and Helios watches with a flicker of knowing in his eyes. He has seen 1,000 choices, 1,000 hearts caught between pride and passion. He knows that even the smallest decision can shape the fate of empires. Your quirky tidbit, some old tales claim that Paris's choice was not just a matter of beauty, but of destiny. That the apple itself was a spark of divine mischief, a seed of chaos planted by Eris, the goddess of discord, to remind the gods that no perfection lasts forever. Below, Paris lifts his head, his eyes lingering on each goddess in turn. Hera offers dominion over the world's greatest kingdoms. Athena promises victory in every battle. But it is Aphrodite's quiet smile that catches his breath. Her promise of the most beautiful woman in the world, a love that would outshine every throne and every crown. He places the apple in her hand, and in that moment the hush of dawn holds its breath. The choice is made, the thread pulled taut, and the world shivers with the weight of what will follow. Helios's horses snort the chariot wheels, turning with the music of the sun, and you feel the hush of that moment settle around you like a cloak, soft and heavy, with the promise of love and the ache of what it will cost. Below, Aphrodite smiles her hand, closing around the apple as Paris bows his head. The air itself seems to sigh the first notes of a song that will end in fire and shadow. And you, dreamer in the chariot, see it all, the bright spark of desire, the quiet echo of choice that will shape the rise and fall of kingdoms. Helios leans forward, his eyes bright with the memory of every tale that has ever been written in the hush of dawn. The horses surge forward, eager for the next chapter, the next breath of the endless sky. And you ride on your heart, echoing the promise of that single golden apple, a reminder that even the smallest choices can blaze brighter than the sun. The sun hangs high, the light mellow and warm as the horses of Helios move with a steady measured grace. You feel the gentle sway of the chariot, the hush of the sky pressing close, as Helios's gaze dips down once more, drawn to a labyrinth of shadow and stone, a story of courage and cleverness that winds tighter with every turn. Below, the island of Crete sprawls in the soft glow of afternoon, its hills green with olive groves and bright with the laughter of distant villages. But in the heart of the island lies a secret older than the hills, a maze of twisting paths and silent walls, a labyrinth so cunningly made that even the sun itself seems to hesitate at its door. In the midst of it all stands Theseus, young, proud, his eyes bright with the quiet promise of heroes. His shoulders are square, his stride steady as he steps into the hush of that shadowed maze, the weight of a kingdom's hope resting on his shoulders. Historians still argue whether Theseus was a prince guided by the hand of fate, or a reckless boy who believed he could bend the world to his will. But Helios, watching from above, knows the truth. Courage and doubt live side by side in every heart. Your historical fact for this soft hour: the labyrinth was said to be the work of Daedalus, the cunning craftsman, whose hands could shape wonder from stone and air. Its winding paths were a puzzle of such brilliance that no mortal who entered could hope to find the way out again unless he carried a thread of love and light. And there she is, Ariadne, daughter of Minos, her hair a dark river of night, her eyes bright with the light of dawn. She watches Theseus from the edge of the maze, her breath caught in her throat, a thread of golden wool clutched in her hands. Her love is a promise woven from hope and fear, and as she presses the thread into Theseus's fingers, you see the quiet strength of her heart. Your quirky tidbit, some old poets claim that Ariadne's thread was spun from the very light of the moon, a silver cord that could find its way even in the deepest dark. A reminder that love can be the truest guide through any labyrinth. Below Theseus steps into the hush of the maze, the thread trailing behind him like a promise. The walls close in cold and silent, the shadows deep as the hush between heartbeats. But his eyes are steady, his breath sure as he follows the faint glow of Ariadne's thread, the memory of her touch a light in the darkness. The Minotaur waits in the heart of the labyrinth, a creature of shadow and hunger, half man and half beast. Its breath is hot and ragged, its eyes bright with the hunger of endless night. Helios watches as Theseus lifts his blade, his hand steady, his heart loud in the hush of the maze. Below the clash is silent, from up here a dance of shadow and steel, of breath and blood. Theseus fights with the quiet ferocity of a heart that knows what it stands to lose. The Minotaur roars, but the hero does not yield, each step measured, each breath a quiet prayer. And when at last the beast falls, its cry echoes through the hush of the maze, a final sigh of darkness that fades into silence. Theseus stands alone in the centre of the labyrinth, his breath ragged in the hush of stone. The thread glows bright in his hand, a promise of the way back to light. And as he follows it out step by steady step, Helios watches with a quiet smile, a reminder that even in the deepest shadows there is always a path home. You lean back, the chariot wheels turning beneath you, and you feel the hush of the maze echo in your own breath. The horses of Helios toss their heads, eager for the next tale, the next flicker of mortal hearts and quiet triumphs. And you ride on dreamer in the chariot, your heart a quiet thread that weaves its own path through the endless sky. Below, Ariadne waits at the maze's mouth, her hands tight around the end of the thread, her breath soft as the hush of dawn. And when Theseus steps out, his eyes bright and his shoulders straight, she smiles a quiet promise that the heart can always find its way through even the darkest night. Helios leans forward, his eyes bright with the memory of every labyrinth, every love that lit the way. And you, with the sun's warmth on your face, carry the echo of that thread in your own breath, a reminder that every story is a path, and every dawn is a chance to begin again. The sun blazes a little lower now, a bright ember in the endless sky, as Helios's horses gallop on their hooves, striking sparks that shimmer in the air. You feel the hush of the afternoon settle around you, a soft sigh that tastes of dust and distant thunder. And Helios's eyes, sharp and golden, turn once more, drawn to a tale of reckless ambition and the fragile flickering dreams of mortals who dare to touch the sky. Below you see a boy standing in the hush of dawn, Phaethon, son of Helios himself, his hair bright as polished copper, his eyes wide with the wild light of 1,000 unspoken hopes. He lifts his gaze to the chariot that blazes across the sky, the very chariot in which you now ride. And in that glance is a promise, a plea, a spark of longing that can never be silenced. Historians still argue whether Phaethon was a fool or a hero, a dreamer who reached too far, or a child whose father's fire burned too bright in his veins. But from up here you see the quiet tremor of his heart, the way his breath catches as he steps forward, as he begs his father for a single day in the sun's chariot. Your historical fact for this golden hush in the ancient world. The tale of Phaethon was a cautionary song whispered in the flicker of lamplight, written in the hush of desert winds. A warning that even the brightest dreams can blaze too hot and leave nothing but ashes in their wake. Helios watches his son with a quiet, weary love. You see it in the line of his jaw, the slow exhale that tastes of both pride and sorrow. He knows what the boy asks is too much, knows the weight of the horses' wild hearts, the fierce headlong rush of dawn and dusk. But love, even in the bright hush of the sky, is a promise that will not be denied. Phaethon climbs into the chariot, his hands trembling on the reins that blaze with the light of every sunrise. The horses snort and toss their heads, sensing the shift, the bright flicker of mortal hands on their golden harnesses. And then, with a cry that echoes like the first shout of dawn, the chariot leaps forward, the sky itself bending in the blaze of that reckless flight. Your quirky tidbits, some old poets said that the river Eridanus was carved by the tears of the sun as it watched Phaethon's ride, a silver ribbon of sorrow that still shimmers in the hush of the world. Below the earth reels as the chariot veers wild, the horses galloping in a headlong rush that pays no heed to mortal bounds. Forests blaze beneath their hooves, rivers steam and hiss, the very mountains shudder in the bright fury of the sun gone astray. Phaethon's face is alight with wonder and terror, his breath ragged in the hush of his own heartbeat. You feel the heat of it in your own chest, the wild joy of flight, the bright terror of falling. Helios leans forward, his eyes shadowed with the weight of the moment, his breath a quiet whisper in the hush of the sky. He knows what must come next, the quiet promise he must keep even if it shatters his heart. Below, Zeus watches with a frown like a thunderhead. The sky is his kingdom, the balance of dawn and dusk a weight he will not see broken. With a flick of his hand, a spear of lightning splits the hush of the afternoon, a white-hot sigh that cracks the sky in two. Phaethon cries out, the light of the chariot fading from his eyes as he falls, down, down through the hush of the world, down into the river's quiet embrace. The horses shudder, their wild eyes turning back to the golden hand that knows their hearts, and Helios's breath catches in the hush of his own grief. You, dreamer in the chariot, feel the weight of that loss settle around you. The hush of the sky is a lullaby of light and shadow, the memory of a boy who dared to ride the sun's fire for a single bright breath. Helios's hands tighten on the reins, his eyes bright with the promise of every dawn that will follow every night, that will soften the echoes of that bright wild fall. Below, the river sings with the memory of Phaethon's flight, a quiet promise that even the brightest blaze will leave its echo in the hush of the world. And above it all, the sun rides on its light, a gentle warmth, now a soft glow that speaks of both loss and the endless hope of the next dawn. The sun edges gently westward now, its glow mellow and soft as the horses of Helios move in measured strides, each hoofbeat a warm pulse in the sky's great heart. The chariot glides like a quiet sigh above the world, and Helios's gaze, bright and knowing, turns once more to a story of wonder and quiet creation, of a moment when the night itself became a river of stars. Below, in the hush of dawn, Hera nurses her infant son Heracles, the child whose strength would echo through 100 stories yet to come. But tonight the hush is a cradle, the mother's touch soft as a prayer. She leans forward, her lips a gentle smile, and in that moment the hush of the world holds its breath. Yet the child is not hers alone. Historians still argue whether this was a moment of trickery or of fate, a mortal babe placed to nurse at the breast of the Queen of the Gods, to drink the milk of power and promise in the hush of the night. Helios, watching from above, sees the flicker of mortal cunning in the soft curl of the child's hand, the quiet sigh of a mother's love that will not be denied. Your historical fact for this dusk-lit hour: the Greeks believed that the Milky Way was born from this single moment. Hera's milk spilling into the dark, a river of stars that would forever stretch across the night. Below, the hush breaks as the child pulls too strongly, a startled cry of surprise on Hera's lips. Milk sprays across the heavens, a soft arc of silver and light that shimmers in the endless dark. The Milky Way is born in that breath. its gentle glow a promise of wonder in the hush of every night to come. Your quirky tidbit, some old poet said that each star in the Milky Way was a drop of milk turned to fire by the breath of the gods, 1,000 tiny flames that still flicker in the hush of every midnight sky. Helios watches it all with a quiet smile, the horses moving softly beneath his hand. He sees the hush of that creation, the wonder of a sky lit with stars that will never fade, and you dreamer in the chariot feel the hush of it, settle in your own breath, the bright shimmer of hope that no night can ever fully swallow. Below the world stirs in the silver hush. Shepherds lift their heads to the gentle glow, children point with wide eyes, and lovers trace the soft curve of the river of stars with fingers that tremble like the first sigh of dawn. The Milky Way sings with the promise of forever, a hush of light that weaves its way through every dream, every wish cast into the dark. Helios leans forward, his eyes bright with the soft laughter of creation. His hands on the reins assure his breath, a gentle promise that the world will always hold its wonders close. The chariot wheels turn the hush of the sky, a soft music that echoes the quiet blaze of the Milky Way, each star a tiny song, each flicker a memory that will never be lost. And you ride on dreamer in the chariot, your heart caught in the hush of that silver river. The horses move with the quiet power of dawn's last light, and Helios's gaze sweeps the sky, each star a soft promise, each sigh of the world a reminder that even in the endless night there is always a hush of light to guide you home. Below the river of stars glows bright and sure, and the world spins on in the hush of that gentle promise. And above it all the sun rides on its warmth, a quiet vow that every dawn will follow every dusk, every story will weave its way into the hush of the sky. The sun drifts toward the horizon now, its light a soft glow that gilds the world in a quiet hush of amber. The horses of Helios move with the measured grace of dusk, their hooves striking sparks that fade like whispers in the hush of the sky. You feel the warmth of the chariot beneath you, the hush of the evening wrapping around your shoulders like a gentle cloak, and Helios's gaze, steady endless, turns one final time to the world below. This is not a story of one mortal or one god, but of the endless turning of the sun itself, a promise written in the hush of every dawn and every dusk. Helios has watched 1,000 lovers meet in secret glades and silent halls. He has seen hearts broken and mended in the hush of the night. He has watched as mortals reached for the stars and fell back to earth, each story a bright flicker in the endless dance of light and shadow. Historians still argue whether Helios's watchful gaze was a gift or a burden, whether to see everything was to understand or simply to carry the weight of 1,000 lives in the hush of dawn. But from here, with the horses quiet beneath him and the sky a river of fading gold, you feel the soft certainty of it all. Helios is the witness, the keeper of every tale that ever breathed its quiet song into the world. Your historical fact for this final hush in the ancient world: the sun's chariot was said to travel not just across the sky, but down through the dark of the underworld each night, rising once more in the east, renewed by the endless hush of the earth's turning heart. Below the rivers glint with the last light of day, the fields soft with the hush of evening. Children's laughter fades into the gentle hush of mothers calling them home, and the world settles into the quiet rhythm of night. Lovers lean close in the hush of twilight, their whispers lost in the sigh of the first stars. Your quirky tidbit, some old poet said that Helios himself grew weary of the endless journey, that in the hush of night he would close his eyes for just a moment, dreaming in the quiet glow of the sun's own breath, before rising again in the hush of dawn. Helios watches it, all his eyes soft with the memory of every story, every sigh of the earth. His hands on the reins assure his breath a quiet promise that the sun will rise again and again and again. The horses move with the hush of dusk, their strength endless, their motion the silent music of the sky. And you dreamer in the chariot feel the hush of it settle in your own heart, a quiet vow that every tale you have heard will echo on in the hush of your own breath, in the gentle warmth of your own skin. Because even the smallest story is a thread in the endless tapestry that Helios weaves across the sky. The world below grows soft and still, the hush of night folding it in gentle shadow, and above the sun wheels down to the horizon, its last light a sigh of gold that slips beneath the edge of the earth. The chariot glides on the horses quiet now their motion, a lullaby of light and hush. The hush of dusk becomes a hush of night, and Helios's eyes close just for a moment, dreaming in the soft glow of 1,000 stories. And you dreamer in the chariot feel the hush of sleep wrap around your shoulders, a soft promise that you will ride on in your own dreams, carried by the gentle rhythm of the sky. And now, as the last rays of the sun slip beneath the horizon, the world settles into the soft hush of twilight. The warmth of the day lingers in the quiet air, and the gentle breath of night says through the world a soft song that hums in the hush of every heart. You feel the gentle sway of the chariot, the warmth of Helios's golden light still wrapped around you like a promise. The sky above is a velvet river of stars, each one a soft flicker in the endless hush of night. The horses move slowly now, their pace a lullaby, each hoofbeat a quiet promise of the dawn that will follow. Below the world sleeps each breath of the earth, a soft murmur in the hush of darkness. The rivers glimmer in the starlight, and the hills stand silent and sure, their gentle curves cradling the dreams of all who rest within their quiet embrace. And above it all the sun's gentle chariot glides on a promise that even in the deepest night there is light waiting at the edge of the world. You lean back, the hush of the sky soft in your ears, your breath slow and sure. The stories of gods and mortals echo in the quiet of your own heart, each one a gentle thread that weaves you into the endless tapestry of the night. And as your eyes grow heavy, and the hush of sleep settles around you, you know that you are part of that quiet song, a dreamer in the chariot of the sun, carried always by the gentle rhythm of the sky.